Here's one kind of genius, the grade school kid kind of genius. That is 9-year-old percussion prodigy Malachy Samdi. Malachy lives in New Jersey. He says he's been, quote, banging on stuff since he was 18 months old. Even though he is now only 9 years old, he plays with adults now who sometimes forget that they have a 9-year-old kid playing drums in their band. He is a legit musical prodigy. He is a genius. He is a genius. He is a very adorable genius. And sometimes genius is like that. It shows, right? It's easy to identify, sort of impossible to miss. Sometimes geniuses become household names. Grand chess masters become household names, or physicists, or other physicists. Sometimes even people working in relatively arcane, non-populist fields can become known worldwide because of how outsized their brains are and how big their contributions are. And then sometimes even people working in not at all arcane fields display a form of genius that operates totally under the radar. People who have a genius idea that changes the course of history. But by happenstance or by destiny, they have a name you have never heard. That's our next guest. So MSNBC is doing the 7 Days of Genius thing. When I found out that we were doing this was the guy I picked, who's here for the interview tonight. I picked him as my nominee for the unsung political genius of our time. And there's a very specific reason why I picked him for that. This is it. Before the Obama presidency, the benchmark in modern American politics for a huge landslide congressional election was 1994, right? When the Republicans and Newt Gingrich just slayed the Democrats in the first midterm of the Bill Clinton presidency. The Republicans beat the Democrats so badly in 1994 that the metaphors started failing. Republicans picked up 54 House seats in that election. Just astonishing. Best they'd done in 50 years. But then in 2010, they even beat that. The 1994 midterm had been a pickup of 54 seats. In 2010, first midterm of the Obama presidency, Republicans picked up 63 seats in the House. That's how John Boehner became Speaker. They just had this huge year in terms of winning seats in Congress. But that was nowhere near their biggest victory that year. Leading up to the 2010 election, a group called the Republican State Leadership Committee had started a project that they called the Redistricting Majority Project, or REDMAP for short. And for this REDMAP project, they very quietly started raising a bunch of money. REDMAP was not formally affiliated with the National Republican Party. It wasn't like they were strangers, but they were a little bit at arm's length, organizationally speaking. And so REDMAP, separate from everything else the party was doing publicly to try to do well in those 2010 elections, separate from that, it was the job of REDMAP to specifically try to win in the states. And to get even more specific than that, their plan, what they were designed to do, was to flip as many state legislatures as possible from Democratic control to Republican control, from blue to red. State legislatures, state houses, state senates. After the census is done every 10 years, state legislatures get to redraw election districts, both for themselves, like for state Senate seats, state legislative districts, but also for congressional districts. Anybody with good voter data and free reign to redraw the maps can redraw the maps to basically guarantee whether the person who'll get elected from that district will be a Democrat or a Republican. So 2010, census year, was a key year to try to take control of state legislatures. Because if you could do that, you not only control policy in those states, which is a nice thing, you would also control how many Democrats and how many Republicans each of those states sent to Congress for a decade. And so the first genius moment was recognizing the opportunity here, right? I mean, first midterm elections after you get a new president, I mean, barring something really strange happening, those first midterms when you get a new president, they're always really good for the other party, for the party that doesn't control the White House. Republicans knew they were going to do well in 2010. Recognizing that, and recognizing that with the right strategy, they could turn that into a much bigger victory in the states that would basically guarantee that they would control Congress for a decade. That was a genius moment of recognizing the political leverage there. But then there was also transforming that genius idea into an actual plan to do it. So there's this little group that very few people have ever heard of, the Republican State Leadership Committee, and they go to work with this REDMAP idea. And they raise money nationally from deep-pocketed but fairly typical Republican donors. They raised a little over $30 million for this sort of quiet project. But instead of applying that money to the big, high-profile Senate races and congressional races and even the governor's races around the country, the kind of races that get all the attention and that get donors' partisan blood pumping, instead of those high-profile races that everybody was talking about, what they did at Red Map was political genius. Just as a pure political move, it was a visionary thing. Because they put that big money from big-ticket Republican donors who honestly really only had big national ambitions for what their money could do. They took that big national money and they spent it in the most unimaginably obscure races all over the country in very specific strategic ways. The operational genius of the plan was that at Red Map, they identified the states that gave their legislatures the most control over the redistricting process. So they found the places where they'd basically get the most bang for their buck if they were able to be successful in flipping those legislative chambers from Democratic to Republican. Within those specific states, they identified the specific down-ballot races that they could win if they tried. Little state rep seats and state senator seats that could be flipped from Democratic to Republican with just the right amount of well-timed cash infusions. And so they targeted those big-ticket dollars to these very, very small-ticket races. So, for example, they funneled $1.5 million into 4 state Senate seats in New York. They flipped 2 of the 4. Congratulations, you just won control of the New York State Senate for $1.5 million. They spent $1 million on Michigan House races. That was good enough to pick up 20 seats in the Michigan House. They funneled $1.5 million to the Alabama Republican Party, $1.5 million in total, which, when properly targeted, was enough spending to flip enough seats that both the state House and the state Senate flipped from Democratic to Republican control for the first time since the Reconstruction era after the Civil War. Not bad for $1.5 million total for the whole state. I mean, on an average fundraising day right now, Jeb Bush literally raises that much money before lunchtime in one day. That was enough to get the whole state. One of the biggest coups for Red Map in 2010 was Wisconsin, where they thought it was worth the investment to try to topple the Senate Majority Leader. He was a Democrat named Russ Decker. Russ Decker was a fixture in Wisconsin. I mean, even in a red year, it did not seem like a guy like Russ Decker could lose. Then again, Russ Decker had never run in a race when a group like Red Map, for its own national strategic reasons, was going to come in and spend $500,000 on that race in the last 2 weeks before the election. And so, yeah, Russ Decker lost, and that seat became a Republican seat. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a liberal. And I think the Republican takeover in the states has been terrible, basically across the board in terms of policy consequences, because I don't tend to like Republican policies. I'm also a civics dork who thinks congressional districts shouldn't be drawn for partisan reasons to make safe seats for Democrats or safe seats for Republicans, right? So on the merits, this whole story, as a matter of the practice of politics, though, the strategic thought and planning and execution of a political plan to have the biggest and most long-standing impact without a huge outlay of resources and without your opponents ever cottoning to what you were doing until you had done it and they woke up the next morning to the realization that you had just screwed them not for one day or 1 year, but for a decade at least. When it comes to political genius, I hereby maintain that there is nothing comparable in the last 5 years in American electoral politics, at least, probably considerably longer, that's anything like this. I mean, if Democrats could wave a magic wand and undo the political work of one person in the past 5 years, it would be the Red Map guy, right? It would be our next guest. And if I were a Republican, I'd be lobbying to put this guy's face on the penny. Joining us now for the interview is Chris Jankowski, former president of the Republican State Leadership Committee, also former executive director of Red Map. Mr. Jankowski, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I have a feeling that you are embarrassed by the compliment. I can see the color.
At least my kids now know what I do for a living. I think
Yes.
you explained that perfectly.
Good. Put this in a time capsule in case you ever do anything bad in the future.
Right.
We'll at least always have been this guy. Other than complimenting you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, did I get any of that wrong in terms of explaining what you guys did?
Well, that's it. You got it. We're not legally allowed to have any affiliation with the RNC. Mm-hmm. But there were groups on the ground, and that was the key. I mean, there's a lot of great ideas in politics, but the ability to execute is what makes the difference. And we had at the RSLC, the Republican State Leadership Committee, the relationships with the state parties and the groups on the ground, and we would give them money. If they were good partners, we would just give them money quietly.
Because they knew which seats would
and we had
have the most leverage.
Right. So the trick here was trying to go to the national donors and the national folks and say, hey, look, here's an opportunity in the state legislatures to what we thought was set it up in 2012 to take U.S. Congress. But by the summer of 2010, we realized, well, we're going to get the House.
This year, yeah.
So what we're going to do is lock that in.
For a decade.
Well, I will say there's a shelf life to these lines.
Okay.
And we don't know how long they are. But eventually, they do wear off. So just a little bit of perspective.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Sure. I mean, some of the districts, the legislative chambers we won in 2010 were won by the Democrats in 2006 under lines drawn by Republicans in 2000.
Right.
So political environment trends can overcome that.
Big enough waves, big
Yes.
enough years can
Demographic
overcome even
growth.
this sort of stuff.
Sure.
But you do change the structure of the field on which politics is played.
I'd rather be us than them.
Yes, got it. So when you went to national donors about this plan, saying we can leverage your national money to do something that you can't quite imagine with it, did you actually spell out for national donors the whole plan and the way it would work? Or did you just go to donors with whom you had the kind of relationship where you could say, trust us, we have a plan, you don't want to know the nitty-gritty, but your money will be well spent?
Well, those donors don't exist anymore in the Republican Party. They ask questions. They asked questions then. We had a chairman, Ed Gillespie, who was an established national figure, and he convened the donor pitches. And yes, I walked through our targets. I explained how we were going to do it. I explained how we were going to take the first 5 to 10 million and what states those would go into, and that was the Great Lakes states, and then where the next 5 million would go and the next 5 million. And we ended up bringing in about 20 million in about 90 days, and amazingly get it out, getting it back out the door. In the Ohio House, we had 10 different targets that we narrowed down to 6. So we had 10 different mail plans, cable ads, polling, and every other state we did that. We targeted primarily 12 to 15 states that would have the most impact on congressional redistricting, and we got the money spent.
How, and in terms of doing that targeting, is that high-level political math, or was it pretty easy for you to figure out which of the states, which of the seats in which of the states were going to be the place that was going to be most worth it to spend your money?
Well, the same swing areas that, if you're running for president, that you're looking at in Ohio are the same places where the swing seats are in the legislative and the congressional to some extent. So it was, to me, it was obvious. We did research, we did polling, we worked with our partners on the ground. Russ Decker, and you mentioned him in Wisconsin, Senator Decker, no one would touch him. We did a poll, we thought he was beatable. So we dropped $500,000 in the last 2 weeks.
What was the best bang for your buck out of all the states you targeted in terms of it being really cheap to get a really big political return? Looking at your data, I felt like it was Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Is
You're absolutely right. And what folks don't realize is every state chamber has a different number of seats in it. And Pennsylvania has one of the biggest houses. It has over 203 seats. Little Arizona, which has 6 or 7 million people, half the size of Pennsylvania, has 60 House seats. So on a per capita basis, these seats in Pennsylvania have relatively few people, which means the costs are relatively low.
You spend $50 and it shows up in a
state like
this.
For the 6th largest state,
like
yeah, 13 million people, we targeted, working with the House leadership in Pennsylvania, we spent almost $1 million. Some of it we gave cash directly, and some of it we took on their stretch goals. We thought it was going to be a good year, and we took on some Democrat incumbents in Western Pennsylvania that had never lost, ever. And we had some extra cash, so we tried and we won. I mean, it was a great year, but I feel like we looked at the map, we constantly readjusted our targets and maximized the dollars.
And blindsided not just Democrats in those individual races, but Democrats nationwide who just now are trying to come up with a red map answer for 2020 because they were doing nothing like this in 2010.
Right. Well, they'll be ready next time. It'll be a Donnybrook.
Do you mind if I lock you in an airless vault before we leave here tonight and never let you out?
Grateful to work with a great team at the Republican State Leadership Committee. Great partners in the states, and have a great chairman like Ed Gillespie. It was very much a team effort.
All right, so I got to lock you all up in the. If you call them all and tell them to meet you somewhere. Chris Jankowski, thank you for being willing to talk about this. I really do think that you did something brand new in politics, and you are a humble guy, but I don't feel humble about what you did. It's a really impressive story. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks.
Thanks.
So MSNBC is doing this 7 Days of Genius thing, and it makes it totally worth it because. Did you know that story? I know. It's amazing, right? Okay, we've got breaking news ahead, I'm just told. We'll be right back.